I love the outdoors. I love to get out camping, going to the beach, going to our national parks, and just being with my family in those places. I have an 11-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old son, and my husband, and we have a camper that we go out all the time in recreational fun boating and fishing. We also are really keen in water skiing and tubing with the kids, so often we'll scoot out to a Wonga Dam on the afternoon for a bit of a ski and tube. Gladstone region is really awesome because there's a wide range in choice of options, but it's also balanced with lots of job opportunities and development opportunities. I love working at Gladstone Regional Council. I love that we help the community and we shape the services we give to the community. I'm proud of all the people I work alongside, and it's everyone showing up every single day to do a really good job for our community. And that's what makes me most proud, is that we all want to make this a better place. So it's all about making sure that we're working on the improvements as a business that are going to generate the best bang for our buck. Council is a great place to work. There is so many opportunities to go into different areas because we really have lots of little businesses in one business. It has given me many opportunities to grow professionally and grow personally. But there is so much that is on offer here at Gladstone Region. We love it. I'm Celisa Faulkner and I'm the Manager of Asset Planning at Gladstone Regional Council.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Thank you, councillors, and welcome back to those watching online. We'll reconvene the meeting at 12:05 p.m. The next item on the agenda is G4.2, which is our Impact Fund Applications Community Investment Program, and I'll hand back to the Acting General Manager of Community and Lifestyle, Bri Jansen. Thank you, Bri.
Thank you, councillors. So once again, this category is called for under an expression of interest process once per year. Impact events should attract between 2,500 and 5,000 attendees with between 5 and 10% out of region visitation. 4 applications were received under the impact category, with the panel recommending multi-year agreements for all applications. Upon endorsement of the panel's recommendation, the Impact Events Fund will be over budget by $1,565 for this financial year, which we're confident can be absorbed. I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, thank you. And look, well done, I have to say, on sorting this one out. The only thing is, again, I know that we have the criteria, but when you're looking at, I suppose, the extent of impact on the community, which obviously comes into play with how many people per day, I'm just curious as to, like, events like the Mount Larkham Show. I know what they requested, and we've been, we're going to provide that, and others, but the one, the Rainbow on the Reef, I think, for the number of people in that compared to, say, even the Blues and Roots Festival, like, to me that's almost a signature event, and I'm just curious how they come with the numbers. Obviously it's ticketed, but I'm just wondering how we're giving that much money to the Rainbow on the Reef for 3,750 total. So if you're looking at per head, it's quite a lot of money.
So some of the panel commentary around that particular event were in relation to, there is a large free component of that event. There are some ticketed events, and the panel felt that it aligned very closely with our Access and Inclusion Action Plan.
Oh, excellent. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. Councillor McClintock, then good luck.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a little query. I know I've clarified a little bit of it. There's a lot of points throughout this report that refer to C commentary, and it was a little bit difficult in some of the sections to figure out what commentary exactly that was referring to. And yeah, just maybe a little point there on just perhaps some clarity as to where we're looking when it's talking about C commentary. I know we've discussed that a little bit deeper and what that means, but I just also wanted to just again touch on probably a little bit of clarity on my point earlier that I know you, Mr Mayor, have commented on as well. The contribution from council and that the significance of that and the cost of that, the percentage of that. Not that we are trying to be the naming rights for every event, and I'm a big advocate for getting other people on board, let's do it. But I also don't think that we need to be setting them up to contribute small amounts and take the glory, if you want to call it that way. But even if we ignore that side of things, not every community member is watching a general meeting, contrary to what we may believe. And thousands of people are attending these events, and the only way they see how we've contributed is by what's there on the day and what's at the actual event, and just making sure that these events that we're significantly contributing to, our community is aware that it's something that they are passionate about. They want to see that their rate-paying money is going towards things that they care about, not, oh, well, at least they could have contributed more than so-and-so because they're the naming rights, when that's not actually really what it looks like. So, yeah, just making sure that the public perception of what we're doing helps tell the story of how much we care about these events, not just in this boardroom here where we get the opportunity to explain it to the people that take the time and energy and appreciate it, to see how these things are done and the thorough process in which these things are done. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Goodluck, but before I throw it to him, I might comment on that, because I don't disagree that we should be probably involved in some of them more. When we have Luminous or EcoFest, we have lots of activations from different departments and council. Entertainment centre are there, art gallery are there. I think the library are often there at these different events. So it wouldn't, if for Mount Larkham Show or Agnes Blues Roots and Rock Festival, or any festival for that matter, we're actively involved in the water stations at Porter Park. So we probably should be having some kind of space activated at some of these events. I don't disagree with that. Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll just make the point that, given the conversation we had about the last agenda item, I think, with the majority of these events now having our reviewed policy, will mean that most of these events are funded up until 27, 28. So effectively the policy that we're about to review will be fairly ineffective, I'd imagine, until the last term of this council. But contrary to popular belief, I did pass grade 3 maths and I can count to 9, so I understand that that is the sentiments of the room, and I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
So good luck. Councillor Wagner, are you seconding that, or you want to comment? Yep. Can I get a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor McClintock. Back to you, Councillor Wagner.
Oh, so just one other question, getting back to, there's 2 in there that are community run. Obviously Port's run by the Port, but I'm just wondering, how come the Agnes Blues and Roots and also the Mount Larkham District Show, how come they wouldn't be in the signature? Like, is there, I'm just thinking, these are, particularly the show, these are quite iconic. Mount Larkham Show's known all over Queensland now as one of the best country shows. So I'm just wondering, how does that trigger into the...
Councillor, that's based on the attendance numbers as well as the out-of-region component of the attendance at the events.
Sorry, so can you just tell me the out-of-region components, what's that figure? Like, is it a percentage or... Sorry, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, that's correct. So for the impact event, it's 5 to 10%. Out of region visitation, whereas for the signature events it needs to be over 25% out of region visitor attendance, and we look for how they are actually demonstrating those figures as well as part of their application.
So in that, does that consider, do they have to stay in a motel? Like, I know when I'm at the Mount Larkham show, how many people are staying over the night? There's literally hundreds, but they stay at the showground. So is that not considered a overnight stay? Or? Yeah,
no, that absolutely would be, and it would just be dependent on how the applicant expresses that as part of their application.
Okay, no, that's great, and that might be good feedback for them too, because I know how many out of, there's probably, I don't know what the percentage would be, but I estimate 40% of people from out of town. So, okay.
Thank you. Yes, Libby?
Just also to let you know that when we do the acquittal and we actually look at the attendance that they actually have had, there are times when we have a discussion with them to see if they'd like to move into the next funding area, if they are increasing in numbers. With these particular ones, they've actually decided to stay just at the impact level, even though they do have an opportunity to move. So we do have that chat with them. And the other way around too, if we feel that the events starting to decrease in numbers, we might say, okay, you're really sitting within this level now. So there is that discussion with them too.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
Councillor McClintock?
I just had one other little comment on the information. I can only find it in the confidential section, so I won't go into the details of it, but off the back of what Councillor Wagner just commented on, out-of-town impact and how that's monitored, or not so much monitored, how that's reported, as part of the application. I could see that some of the applications actually fell down a little bit based on that number not being there or not being clear, and just wanted to perhaps get a little bit of insight. How would we encourage people? I don't know really what I'm asking here, but I don't want to see people missing out on this funding here because we haven't reported that, because some of these events I know for a fact are bringing people in, and yet on the report it actually showed it wasn't. So how are we making that better?
Yeah, so there's a number of ways, and as I said, there is no strict method or expectation for what we want to see to justify those numbers, but we want to see some sort of methodology of how they're calculating their out-of-region visitation. We always strongly encourage that the applicants talk to GAPDL and get any data available from themselves, consider things like surveys, talking to the local accommodation providers and those sorts of things.
Yeah, many of these events obviously have an application form, or the fun runs, you've got to sign up, all these sorts of things. Having a little section there where you can put your postcode in obviously is sort of the thing we're talking about. Awesome, great, thank you.
Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, sorry about all the questions. So again, I'm with Councillor Goodluck in terms of the 3-year again is going to, I suppose, make it a little bit more challenging for when we do the review here, because it won't only mean that so much budget has been allocated, but I'm just wondering, will this also be in the same situation as the other grants that we just had a look at, in that, so say these ones here that potentially with a little bit of, I suppose, know-how or support, they could possibly be in the signature category. If they chose at some point and they could show that they actually were a bigger event than this, than what's here, would they be able to do something about securing extra funds? Say year 2, and all of a sudden Blues and Roots is bigger and better than Ben-Hur, and they want to be a signature event.
Yeah, I'd say based on the applications that we'd seen, that would require significant growth for any of them to make that sort of jump. But my understanding, please correct me, Carly, if I'm wrong here, is that if there was that sort of significant change from their previous application that was put in, we would be within our rights to reassess that application.
Okay, thank you.
But the good news will be, if this recommendation is adopted, which is moved and seconded, that they've got funds locked in for 3 years. And excellent. Any further comments or questions, councillors? Mover in the officer's recommendation, Councillor Goodluck, that's seconded. Councillor McClintock, all in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 4.3, Regional Arts Development Fund. Thank you, Libby. Back to you, Bri.
Thank you. I'm joined now by our curator of the Gladstone Regional Art Gallery and Museum, Claire Robinson, as we present for endorsement the Regional Arts Development Fund. So RADF is a funding partnership between Gladstone Regional Council and Arts Queensland. For this current round, round 2, 8 applications were received and assessed by the RADF committee. The committee has recommended full funding for 5 of the 8 applications and partial funding for 3 of the 8 applications, totalling $57,902.50. I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Holzhammer, are you the chair? Do you have any comments to add before we go to questions from councillors?
There was a lot of new members as well, so it has grown, which is really great for the RADF committee as well. We've, I suppose only last night, Claire and I were having a conversation about the difference between the grants we've just approved and that funding versus the RADF funding as well, and how that decision is made differently, and some work we can do in that space as well. There was really comprehensive debate and also discussion about those that weren't funded fully. So it was really pulled apart and a really great process to be a part of. Yeah, I think that they've done a great job with their recommendations.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions to General Manager, please. Councillor Patrick.
Hi, thank you. Just with the 3 applicants that aren't funded fully, are we confident that they can still execute their proposed workings?
Yes. Excuse me, councillors. Yes, we absolutely are. They are three very well-known arts practitioners in the region. They've delivered this kind of project before, so all three of them that we've recommended just for partial funding.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very well established in the region for delivering this kind of project.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, you can.
A couple of the applications as well almost had three separate themes or multiple themes within them. So it seems like what they were asking for, the scope was really large. However, if they just focused on the one, so we kind of broke it down to, okay, for some of them that it was just one area of the three that they might have applied for as well that was funded, because that part of it was clearer, where the other two may not have been as clear as well, for an example. And then there were specific areas that were like, okay, cool, we didn't believe that was suitable for the funding, so that part wasn't actually included. So it was specific, like related to specific items as well, or parts of the budget, not just here we're only giving half or that sort of thing as well.
And so just following on from that, Mr Mayor, so in the process, before we make the decisions, did you ask for additional information from these? Yep. Sorry. Do we ask for additional information, and were we alluding to with the applications that they were sort of had three components, for example, that really they would just be getting funding for one?
So the process that we run here is that we have a period of expressions of interest. So it's at that point that applicants can register their intent to apply, and at that point we offer assigning them a mentor. So a mentor being one of the committee members most appropriate to their type of project.
Mm-hmm.
So they are offered that facility for the period between the EOIs and the application deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So apart from the mentoring, we do not go back to the applicants before the assessment, because now it's done on Smarty grants, which was a progressive step for the committee to try and maintain good governance and a more fair and open system of assessment.
Yeah.
So the assessments are all done individually by each committee member separately, and then we come together for the assessment.
Yeah.
So we don't go back to the applicants in between that, but they are offered the mentoring, which should iron out any of the challenges. With one in particular, it was a very large scope, so it is our hope that would be ironed out during the mentoring. If they don't have to accept a mentor, but we do advise.
Would you say most of the applicants did take on a mentor?
They did not this time. I say it was about half of the applicants.
Is that because these artists are experienced artists and are used to going through the process of RADF, or?
I think there is a significant degree of experience, not just from the artists, but also from the applicants in the grant writing space, especially with Smarty grants. And RADF's obviously a very well-established fund, so they do have a lot of experience, in applying for the grants, yes.
Okay. Well, it's good to know that there is that mentorship that is happening for possibly less experienced. But I'm sort of asking the question because the model is different from a normal Gladstone Regional Council investment program. So it's important that we know that process, as well as everyone on watching today knows that process as well.
Thank you, Councillor. And many of the councils who run the RADF programme for Arts Queensland do not offer the mentoring section.
Yeah.
So it's actually, I think, a really valuable part of what we offer our applicants.
Yeah, no, and I think that's great to highlight that. So thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, look, I have to say, since the last one, there's a level of maturity, let's use that word, for this. So thank you for, diligently doing this. We've got more information than we've seen, and I thank Councillor Holzheimer too for her input into this. Just a couple of thoughts or ideas. One is in regarding to the success of Kira Furness to go to Seattle. What a great opportunity. But I'm just wondering, because she is possibly not the only one in town that would be selected to go to these, like we see several of these each year. If that was to happen, do we set a precedent by doing this? That's all, because I think it's great that we're supporting her. And I also like the idea that she comes back and does some work in the community, and I'm hoping that the acquittal will see how we do benefit from that, because I'm sure she'll do a great job. But yeah, in the long term, these particular individual ones, how are we going to manage that if we do all of a sudden go, oh, well, we've done this, now we're getting 3 next time?
Oh.
Sorry.
Apologies, Councillor. It was my understanding that this is not something that is offered to very many students here. This applicant did have a mentor from the committee, and the committee were told that she is a very outstanding student. This programme is only offered to students which are very outstanding, so I don't perceive that there would be repeated applications for this, but we definitely are progressing in terms of good governance and a more transparent and fair system. And the policy and the guidelines reflect in line with Arts Queensland as well, and obviously the council's arts and cultural plan. So we align with all of those things, and we try. Want to go?
Councillor Wagner, if I could just add, with these funding rounds, there's no risk of setting a precedent, because each set of applications are assessed on their own merits depending what is the priority at the time. So I don't think there should be a concern for that.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. Thanks for that. But in the event that it does, though, all I ask is, when you are developing in future, there probably does need that consideration, because I know in council in the past there has been some that once you do one, there's others that come out of the woodwork. And there might be others that are worthy as well. So I think this is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but just flagging that there is a potential for those particular individual ones that go overseas. And no, I think that's it. I'll leave the rest alone. Thank you. Appreciate the work you've done, though.
Councillor Holzheimer.
I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation based on the report here today.
Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. You're happy to second? Okay. Any further comments or questions? Put the motion. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Claire. Next item on the agenda, G4.4, monthly financial report for the period ending the 30th of September 2004. Hand over to the General Manager of Finance, Governance and Risk, Mark Holmes. Thank you, Mark.
Afternoon, councillors. This item is your monthly financial report through to the... Out of habit. This is your monthly financial report through to the end of September, so essentially taking us to 25% of the way through the financial year. The report essentially tracks our progress against each of the items in your income statement, and also our key essentially asset spends, particularly in and around our capital, very much in line with where we would expect to be at this time of year, and there's no new variances identified within the September statements. We are going through what we're calling our reforecast process, which is general for this time of year, and so we're hoping to incorporate that within the October statements. Happy to take any individual questions that you may have with respect to it, but essentially this is very much in line with your previous month's financial report.
Thank you. Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, no, thank you. Comprehensive. And I really like the way that when there is something that looks obvious to be questioned, you are actually putting comments in there for all to see. So well done. I think it's a really great way of reporting, and because there was one there, I think, in regards to assets, And you did sort of clarify that, and it made a lot of sense. So thank you very much, Mark, and to your team.
Thank you. Councillor Wagner, any further questions, comments? I move for the officer's recommendation, or Simon, has a question?
Sorry, just a little point of clarification, and Mr Mayor, you might be able to give a little bit of info to this too. Under the general purpose grant, the budget was obviously 10.3, our actual at 84% already, and how that relates. I know I'm just trying to get my head around about when we get the funding, how much of the funding we get. What's that story behind that 84% sitting there? And can you just, it's good. I just want to perhaps get a little bit better understanding of where we're up to with that and how that plays into how we can do what we need to do for local government, given the, obviously a very state-orientated period of time that we're in right now, just helping clarify what's going on with that there particularly.
Happy to help answer, but realistically, I'll throw back to Mark. But they do pay it over the period because there's 537 councils and it's a big chunk of money and they don't like to give it all that at once. That's it, basically in a nutshell, how they do it. What they should just do is double it and give us what we actually need to run organisations of local councils across the country. Over to you, Mark.
And I guess the only additional ask from me is consistency and timing. I guess what we've seen is essentially almost a whole year's prepayment of that grant. We were expecting to receive that actually in and around the 30th of June, so actually in the 23-24 financial year. What happened is we actually received it on the first Monday of the financial year, and therefore it became a 24-25 receipt. So what you'll see is a very small quarterly payment come through to essentially take us up to the 100%. And then certainly at the whim of where the federal government ends up with its budget for in 25 as to where we see whether we have that continued prepayment or whether it actually goes into the following financial year.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Before I throw to Councillor Davis on that, unfortunately, and I think I've said this at the council meeting before, Queensland was probably the only state that paid it late. And that's not an attack on the Queensland government at all. It's because the federal government paid it to them so late. But every other state that I'm aware of, or most of the other states and territories, managed to get it into that financial year. So the chances of it remaining, being paid in the next financial year, next time, is very unlikely because the other councils across the country will be expecting it to be paid in this financial year because they haven't got any financial assistance grants in the current financial year and they will need some. So we will be Lonesome Crusoe out there saying, for consistency, we'd like it paid in next year's financial period, but that won't happen. Councillor Davis.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to move the report.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Wagner. Any further questions or comments? Put the motion. All in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you, Mark. We move on to councillor reports, and G5.1 is the Developing Northern Australia Conference report from Councillor Churchill and Economic Development Specialist Christy Marks.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Would you like to join us at the table?
Yeah, Matt, if Christy's going to join us, that'll be good. But look, first and foremost, thank you immensely for allowing myself and to you as fellow colleagues to represent the Gladstone region at the Developing Northern Australia Conference, which we have attended every conference from my understanding since the inception of the Developing Northern Australia agenda from the Australian government. Then all tiers of government are now playing an active role in that as well. Rather than read the whole report, I'll take it as a given that you've read the report and you have an understanding, and then appropriately I'd like to just make some reference to some of the excerpts in there. But whilst doing that, I'd also like, through you, Madam Acting CEO, to acknowledge Christy Marks' efforts in wordsmithing and working with me, which can be a difficulty at some of the times in being able to put a report together that at least is collected, compiled and collated in a way that can be condensed enough for you to have an understanding of what transpired. And may I say, if you want to ask any questions at the end, any hard questions, come to me, and make sure that the easy ones go to Christy As indicated there, and I'll just extrapolate a couple of key points. 370 domestic and international delegates attended. Whilst we were there during the conference, there was the significant release of the Northern Australia Action Plan 2020-24 to 2029, and that was a key announcement made by the federal government during the conference, and that was delivered by the Honourable Madeleine King MP, and I know that Christy and I did catch up with the Minister as such, just for a chat about what's going on in the Gladstone region. And the Minister's role is for resources and Northern Australia. So understanding that the Gladstone region sits in the southern eastern corner of the Northern Australia agenda. And as part of that, the action plan was released, and it outlines the new and emerging opportunities while tackling the ever consistent and persistent challenges that have been there in the past. So they're listed there for you, some key themes that were highlighted during the conference. And again, they are probably of the highest level from a strategy perspective, but as you would understand, for a 3-day conference, and the amount of information that was being provided by the various presenters is extremely broad. The Gladstone region is already familiar with each of these themes, and appropriately I would go so far as to suggest that a number of the themes are also well and truly integrated within our Gladstone region economic transition roadmap, be it for the next 10 years. But like anything in the world of economic development, always expect the unexpected, because there are new innovative and entrepreneurial ideas being brought forward in many different ways, and I'm sure that Christy may be able to allude to some of those as well that, from her learnings. We had the opportunity to participate in a couple of famils. I had the fortunate opportunity to do the Indigenous rock art tour, and be something that'd be good if we could find a way of being able to do something of a similar nature here in the Gladstone region. I know some are looking at it at the moment. And Christy had the opportunity to do the full and comprehensive Dampier port tour. So it was good for both of us to be able to see the two sides of it, and also her learnings from the Dampier seafarers, which, as you would know, we have our own Gladstone seafarers. Same, but slightly different, and their significant role as well. Just a couple of other brief points. Without doubt, the Developing Northern Australia Conference continues to be a key driver for the focus on the Northern Australia development agenda, and a couple of matters, not necessarily in the recommendation here today, but for consideration for the future, that we will continue to attend the conference for all the right reasons, and that there be a councillor attendance at the next conference in Cairns in 2025. And because it does rotate between Queensland, Northern Territory, Western Australia, and goes around the 3 states. And the other one is that it's been raised previously from within this boardroom that we should give some consideration of hosting a future Developing Northern Australia conference. And I'd probably go so far as to say it's not a decision we make today, but something perhaps worthwhile considering. Our limitations in the past have been the budget requirement, but I believe the model that's now unfolding is the significance of a broader range of partnerships, stakeholders, sponsors that can contribute to the required fee. And last but not least, as you would see there in some of the photographs, I had the opportunity very proudly to present our Gladstone Region Economic Transition Roadmap to the delegates. And as has been indicated in the report, there was a lot of interest in our transition roadmap, economic development, and I believe that other local governments are now taking up that initiative, which is pleasing to see. So we can all learn from each other's, I suppose, success and failures in the world of local government and the world of economic development. And last but not least, had the opportunity to catch up with a past CEO of the Gladstone Ports Corporation in there as well, Craig Doyle, who has been, since the inception, the Chief Executive Officer for the Northern Australia Infrastructure Facility, which will obviously come under, I believe, under review for its future as an organisation and as a funding route sometime, be it in the looming future of the next 12 months to 18 months. So that's my report, and as I said there before, happy to take any, I'll take the hard questions, and I'm sure through you, Matt, or you, Carly, perhaps Christy might be able to add some other aspects to it if you wish.
I think it's a very thorough report. Thank you, and then you read it to us, which was delightful.
I didn't read it all. Otherwise, we'd still be here till 4 this afternoon. So.
It's very good, well done, and we definitely need to continue attending. It'll be interesting to see the report that comes back as to whether we can afford to host it or not. For $100,000, that's a lot of money. But I like the idea of collaborating with major industry to bring that cost down, because it would be a really good conference to host in Gladstone, because we were originally not in Northern Australia. They decided we weren't there, for those who haven't heard the story before watching online. The line was the Tropic of Capricorn, and then they added us in. So we definitely need to attend as often as possible, and hosting it would be fantastic. But $100,000 is a lot of money for 370 delegates. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add?
Any
Christine?
questions?
No?
Thank you,
Questions?
Councillor, and nothing else further for me to add unless there's any other questions.
No? Okay, can we have a mover for the report? Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Seconded, Councillor Wagner. All in favour? And that is carried. There is any further council reports? Verbal reports? Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, because I love talking. So Councillor Holzheimer and I, topping her in, we went to the Capricorn Pest Management Group meeting in Billawilla last week, and there was some really good, exciting news happening there. Not only are we hosting the Pest Symposium here in Gladstone in the new year, but that we've had a change of board too, and I'm now the secretary of that board. So we've got Jamie Petrie from Gorb, Gladstone Area Water Board, as president, Gordon Twiner from Banana Shire as the vice president, Karen Moody from Rocky Council, Rockhampton Council as treasurer, and myself. So looking forward to working with Councillor Holzheimer and the team on progressing some of those initiatives. Some of the things to come out of that was that there is a very active baiting 1080 program happening at the moment. The pigs are still, the feral pigs initiatives are still going, and there's also a grazing resilience and sustainable solutions, GRASS is the acronym apparently, underway as well. And just a reminder too that we have the Weed Spotters Workshop on the 17th of October at 3 Don Cameron Drive, Calliope, in the function room there, Council does, which is going to be a great initiative, and I know that I'm hoping, and I know Councillor Holzheimer shares my enthusiasm to perhaps do more of these around the region as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't need movers for verbal reports, do we know? Okay. Any further council reports? Awesome. No urgent business, no notices of motion, and there's no confidential items. I declare the meeting closed at 12:43 p.m. Thank you for your attendance.